Today on This Old House.
How do you get a proper finish on a bathtub? Well, first you gotta open up the gates of hell. For a plumber like me, a foundry is like the chocolate factory for Willy Wonka.
And we're going to show you how to flatten an uneven ceiling.
This season, we're in Detroit, Michigan, tackling 2 different projects.
Oh my word.
If this house is going to be saved, this is one less that we have to tear down.
Frank, you're a brave man to take on this project. You excited?
Yeah, where are you gonna get started?
The Detroit family found a home with lots of potential. Now they're planning on doing most of the work themselves, but This Old House is here to help out. So what have you found up here?
Well, a bit of a surprise.
Can't wait to see what the finished product is going to be.
Hi there, I'm Kevin O'Connor, and welcome back to This Old House here in Detroit, where we are working in the Russell Woods neighborhood. And as you can see, it's a beautiful neighborhood of all these single-family homes on these small lots, including ours, which was built in 1939. Unfortunately, it was abandoned for about 4 years, so we're fixing all of the problems that go with an abandoned house. Last week, we replaced all of the copper that was stolen from the house with PEX tubing, and that front bay of leaded glass windows that had gotten all the water damage, well, we pulled out the windows and they are being fixed. And today, another beautiful detail that we're working on are the plaster moldings, and we're going to fix those with a very modern solution. Hi, Frank. Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Kevin.
Well, you certainly do have some beautiful moldings in this house, Frank.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. We've got some detailed archway moldings here
Yeah.
on both sides. We've got cast moldings here at the top, crown molding, and trim molding as well. We want to try to preserve this rather than eliminate it.
Yeah, we can't blame you if you're wanting to save it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
gorgeous.
beautiful stuff. Now, years ago when they would make this, what they would do is they would actually make a cast and they would fill it with plaster, or they would make a stamp out of plaster and put it on the wall after they build the plaster up.
Right.
Well, what I found is this material right here. This is actually a 2-part silicone that you mix up and you force it onto the wall. Now, this has been on there for about 30 minutes, so I'm getting ready to pull it off to see if we can make a reverse casting of your detail. So when I pull this off, comes off pretty good. Let's see how it works. All right, so what we have is a reverse casting of this molding right here.
That's pretty cool.
Now I can take this and fill it up with plaster, and I'll have a little molding.
There is a third option that we're going to use where you end up with this. And this is actually, it's essentially an industrial plastic that's been printed for us. And what you do is you take a picture of the good molding. So Dave Kempsky came out with his 3D camera, snapped a picture of an area where the molding was good, and they bring it back to their computer and they can fix any defects. And then from the computer, they can actually send it to a 3D printer, and we end up with lengths like this. And he actually printed this for us last week.
That's pretty cool.
The material itself comes in a spool in this filament right here.
And what, that's just sort of getting melted down onto the piece?
Yeah, so it gets extruded out, melted layer by layer, and eventually builds our part.
And how long to make a piece for us?
It's going to take about 5 to 6 hours. We can do multiple versions of it as well.
And have you made any yet?
We have.
Wow, cool, look at that. Well, you can see all the detail right there, and we could just paint right over this.
Cut it to length, paint it, whatever you need to do.
Exactly what Tommy needs, thank you.
Got it.
Now, years ago, they would put this on with plaster, but we're actually going to use joint compound. Joint compound will stick to anything. So I'm just going to butter up each edge, just like laying a brick. Right about there. Butter it up, put it on. All right, that's not quite set up on that side, but this side is pretty good. So what I want to do is hit the edge with a dry brush first. Just work it right in there. All right, Frank, I think it's set up enough. Let's wash it down and then we can dry it off.
Okay. Is that just water?
Just water. We want to work all the big pieces out so we can see the detail.
All right.
All right, so now we'll just see if we can dry it off with the rag a little bit. Wipe it down. Let's put some primer on it and see how it blends in. What do you think?
Oh, that's great.
All right, so now we get the primer on. It blends in pretty good. Now all we need to do, Frank, is before you paint it, fill the holes with putty, sand off the rough spots, and it'll look great.
Okay, looks good.
Okay, now let's get to the other side.
All right.
It's time for Frank and Tamiko to select plumbing fixtures. We've come to Wisconsin to visit one of the country's biggest plumbing showrooms. So welcome to what they lovingly call the Great Wall of China.
Or sort of like a modern-day Game of Thrones.
That's a good one. Eric Moore is senior interior designer here. Frank, Tamiko.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to
Hey,
meet
how's it
you.
going, Eric?
He knows everything about everything here. So I got to tell you, I'm this close to the factory, which is right across the street. I'm going to take this opportunity to see how some of this stuff is made. Catch you guys later, okay?
Perfect.
All right. Hi.
So you have your plans. I've seen these. I've got your plumbing wish list. Let's start off with the bathing. Now guys, here's a freestanding option. It's a lot bigger. It's deeper than the 5-foot tubs, which were 9 inches deep. This is 16 inches deep. This is very contemporary. This is really going to be a real statement piece.
Give it a shot, see what it feels like.
Nice, isn't it?
It's not
It's
bad.
deep. I could fit.
You loving it?
Yeah, but we can look at some other options at the same time.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's head this way. All right, we're in our showering section. I have your wish list of what you want. You definitely want a hand shower and a slide bar, body sprays, and a rain head. So next up, we got to determine, how do we want to control this? Do we want to go digital or manual? With digital, we can turn the components on and off and set a precise temperature. What are you thinking, Frank?
We're leaning more towards a manual model.
Okay. Now here are the vanity styles to choose from.
Oh, I really love this sink.
Well, this is one of our Artist Edition sinks. It's a gold and metallic pattern with our brushed gold faucet. Looks great. I mean, I absolutely love this sink. Frank, what are you thinking?
I think it's a nice sink, but I don't know if it's going to work in the area that we have.
Well, with the dimensions, it's going to be tight. I mean, it's going to have to be custom, and we probably have to move the door. So the next thing left to do is pick out the kitchen sink. Let's go do it.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
For a plumber like me, a foundry is like the chocolate factory for Willy Wonka. Steve Bruce is our tour guide today. Steve,
Hi.
what are you building today?
What are we doing? We're going to make some cast iron lavatory.
All right, so how does the process start?
First, we start with raw materials.
Great. Look at this place.
Here's our scrap piles. We got a lot of scrap here, as you can tell.
I see old bathtubs and stuff like that.
Those are pieces that didn't quite make it out as A1. So we bust them up, we recycle them, we melt them all over again.
But it's more than just old tubs.
More than just old tubs. If you got other stuff out there, we buy scrap from everybody that fits what we need.
Okay.
The electromagnetic crane picks up a bunch,
Look at that thing.
dumps it into the sorting hopper, puts about 4.5 tons in when it gets dumped into a charge bucket. Then that charge bucket has to go get melted so we can turn it into liquid iron.
Then it's time to heat it up.
It is
Let's
time to
see
heat
that.
it up.
So this is a manual line here?
This is the manual one. Actually, what this is part of our artists and industry program. The artists have made a mold, and we're pouring iron into their handmade mold. This is really old school.
That hasn't changed much in 100 years.
Now, let it cool and see what comes out.
All right, so what's going on here?
We're making molds of cast iron lavatories.
Okay.
You take a sand mold at the top side and the bottom side of the mold, put the two together. In between the two, now there's a space when you put them together.
A little gap in there.
A little gap in there, and that's what we're going to pour the iron into.
Okay. Look at that.
And here's what we got.
Okay. So they pour the molten cast iron in there, and then it cools, and then what happens?
It cools off downstairs, we break it open, and then we process it, clean it up, so it's ready to enamel.
Okay.
So why don't we go see them enamel them?
All right, great. So we've got our cast iron tub, and that's big, good, and strong, but we need to cover it somehow, right? Otherwise it'll rust. It's not hygienic.
If we don't coat it with enamel, it's going to rust.
Okay.
So we put on powdered glass, which is the enamel.
Okay, is that it here?
And the process, it's nothing more than powdered glass. It feels like
Sort of gritty, more than talcum
talcum powder almost.
Great. Okay, so how do you get that? Take us through the steps of the
We
process.
preheat the bathtub to about 1,700 degrees. Then we put it in the melt furnace, bring it up to 1800 degrees, and apply a layer of powder to it.
Oh, so it's sort of like sifting the
You
glass
sift
onto
it on top with a vibrator, and it goes on top. We put it in the oven and it melts. 2 minutes later, we put another coating on. And that one melts for 2 minutes, and then we bring it out. At that point, all we do is cool it off, and you've got a finished bathtub.
That cake is done.
That's it.
All right, guys, here's our kitchen area. We have to choose from stainless steel. We have cast iron. What are you thinking?
I love the cast iron option. I love the color, the finish.
It's a
Nice.
great material. I think it's going to go great in your kitchen. But what about the bowl configuration? We have single bowl, we have extra large medium, we have double equal. What's going to work best in your space?
I like the double equal. You're able to wash dishes. It's very wide.
It's a very popular model. What about color, faucet style?
We like the color that you have here in a double equal, and we also like the faucet choice that they have that goes with this
I
sink.
mean, this is a great color for your white cabinetry and a great faucet for its simplicity.
Hey guys, you guys still at it?
Hey, Rich.
We got every decision made?
We're getting close. We've got our kitchen sink picked out. We've got our shower configurations picked out. We've got our toilets. We still have to make a final decision on the bathtub and the powder room.
Okay.
And we still have to narrow down a couple final choices on the showers.
'Cause we got to get going, you know.
Yeah.
We've got the whole house ripped apart. It's time to rebuild it. So,
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you have fun?
We had a great
Definitely.
time. It's a great facility and great crew.
I did too. Eric, thank you for all your help.
You're welcome, very welcome.
Should I leave you guys here just another hour? How do we get this done?
At least an hour.
Okay. Okay.
We've been busy in this hot weather. We got the entire bathroom ripped out, and it didn't come easy. Now we know where the new fixtures are going. We're going to have a 42-inch shower right here. That'll come to right about here. A little short wall. And then we'll have a bathtub right here. Now, when we first got here, there was a big, beautiful mud job. You know, thick tile with cement underneath it. But we saw a crack going across the floor, and that never suggests something good. Well, once we demoed it, we understand exactly what's going on. Frank, you out there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right, so come take a look at this. With this thing open, we get a sense of just what's going on. Remember the crack we saw on the floor here?
Yeah.
All right, so here was the drain from the old tub. And the plumber originally took this part of it out for a drum trap like this that sits in there. Okay, the drain over there, right underneath you, it's completely notched out. Look at over here. This is completely gonzo now, so there's hardly any structure. So it meant that the weight of the water in the tub over here is what forced that tile to finally go. Gotcha. All right, before we put the new stuff in, we really got to head this thing off. So we're going to have to cut this joist back and put some structure going this way. Grab me a saw and let's start getting this thing open.
Okay.
All right, Frank, just cut right against the end of this sister joist right here. Go. Bring it in. Yep. Perfect. All right, let's see what we got. All right, so with that secured now, think of what we've done. We've got a box right here with the header tied into here. So this carries all the weight of the water in that tub, so it's not going to go down to the first floor below. The same thing over here. We've got the header, tied that all together, carried it onto this wall below, so that's going to hang too. All right?
All right. Looks like we have a strong base for the tub and the shower.
That tile's not going to crack.
Okay. Good deal.
All right, guys. Now, if you all remember, there was a wall that went right across the space here, and that divided the kitchen to the back sitting room. and Frank wants to make it all one big kitchen. Now the problem is if we look at the floor joists that were in the kitchen, those are 2x10s. The ceiling joists that were in the back room are 2x8s.
Okay.
So what that means is the bottom of the floor joists don't line up with the bottom of the floor joist over here. And if we want to make the ceiling flat, it would actually step like that. We want to make it one plane. To do that, I'm actually going to make up a gauge block or a stick, and I'm going to reference off the floor and the underside of the 2x10 joist. I'm going to hold the two sticks plumb by eye in both directions. Just hold them there gently, got it? And I'm going to screw them together. Now let me show you. As you notice, I had it up against the joist. If I take it over here, and I hold it underneath the 2x8 joist, you can see that the ceiling is higher back here. So now we're going to use this to level our ceiling. All right, guys, why don't you bring those ladders in, set them right over here, a little closer. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to attach this 1x3 to the side of the joist. So why don't you hold it up there, get up on there, put it up against the double plate over there, and to gauge the height, we're going to use our stick. So, got that? All right, so now you're going to I'm going to put this on the floor, you're going to pull that down. Now you're going to drive a screw right over this stick. All right, that's right. Now the bottom of that strapping is the exact height off of the floor as the other part of the kitchen. All right, now let's put another one in right here. Okay, we have the bottom of all of our 2x8s made flush or even with the bottom of our 2x10s, so now the ceiling will be flat. But next thing I want to do is I want to create a wider nailing surface for the wallboard to fasten to, and I also want to create a chase for the electrician to run his wires so he doesn't have to drill holes in the joist. To do that, we're going to take more of the 1x3 and we're going to fasten it perpendicular to the joist, and we're going to space it 16 inches along the joist. All right, let's start right up there in the corner and lift one up. All right, now that's our first piece. Now we want to run all of our pieces 16 on center. We want to make sure we stagger our joints in the field. So now I also want to make sure that when you put this one up, all right, take that.
Okay.
We snapped the line there, so put it on the line. And now you see this end? We want to make sure that that end is halfway on a joist, just like it is. All right, so fasten that one in. Make sure the line is on this side. So move it over. There you go. All right, now we have our first two pieces up, and the second one we snapped a line on it, making it correct for 16 inches on center. Okay. To make sure that all of the other ones are 16 inches on center in the field, we've made up a little gauge block. I want you to take it, put it under the joist, hold it up there with your hand against that strapping, take your next piece of strapping, push it against it, move the gauge block out of the way, and screw it to the joist.
Okay.
You got it?
No need for another chalk line.
No need for another chalk line.
All right.
All right, I think you guys understand it all.
I think we've got it.
Yeah. All right, I got a couple of things I want to look at. Good luck.
All right.
Thanks,
Tom.
Back at our Grandmont Rosedale project, they are making some serious progress, and they have to if they want to get it done in 90 days. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we took down a massive tree that was right up next to the right side of the house, and that was causing problems outside and in. It is gone, as well as some of the smaller trees around the perimeter of the house. That allowed us to fix the roof and put in new gutters. And check this out. All of the old windows have been removed and replaced with brand new ones. Out front, that old stoop was taken away. It was rebuilt with brick and concrete. And inside, well, the rough electric continues, and we're solving some problems in the basement. We had a couple of problems down in our basement. The first one was water. It was nice and wet down here because we had groundwater coming in. And we also had a problem with the foundation. Now, a couple weeks ago when we were here, you could see that this corner of the foundation was bowed out almost an inch or two. Now that has been all fixed, and Terry, you and your guys are the ones who fixed it for us, and I'll tell you, it looks pretty good. That's nice and plumb.
Well, thank you, thank you.
So what was your process?
Well, the first thing we had to do was relieve the pressure off the walls, and then that was to excavate from the outside, move all the dirt all the way down to the footing.
Wow.
And then come back in here with some 2x10s, some of my guys, and we had to push the wall out.
You guys literally just pushed this thing back into place?
It was pretty weak, so we got it all back in place. Clearing it all out, tug pointed, and everything else, a matter of waterproofing from the outside.
All right, so that's going to happen out there?
Yes, that's what we're going to do next, so you can follow me. Okay, to allow us access to be able to push the wall out, we had to excavate all the debris out of here, the roots and things like that, all the way down to the storm drain, to the footing.
Right. Well, that's a lot of work. And you did this trench all the way around the entire house?
All around the entire house.
All right. And so that gives you access to the foundation?
Access to the foundation and the storm drain, as you can see right there.
Yep. So what do you do to the foundation to prepare it?
Well, we clean all the block off. We cement any major cracks or whatever. We come over with tar, which we hand trowel on. We use 6mm visqueen as a water vapor barrier, and which runs all the way down to the drain tile, which we're going to put in here shortly.
All right. So I see the perf pipe going in. He's got that laid on some pea stone that already went in the bottom there. What is he connecting this to? Because that's a short length.
Well, it's going into the pre-existing storm drain, which is around the whole house. All right, and ties into the main sewer and runs out.
So you think that's going to solve our problem?
Oh, it definitely solved the problem. We just had a big rain the other day, big rainfall. Even without the drain tile being in, there was no water in the basement whatsoever.
I like to hear that. All right, Terry, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're making great progress here on this house and a lot more progress to come on our other house as well. And that's coming up next time. So until then, I'm Kevin O'Connor for This Old House here in Detroit. Next time on This Old House.
Where is the site of the country's largest plumbing disaster? Right here, Flint, Michigan.
We rebuild a rotten wall from the inside out.
And we beef up the fascias to support our new gutters.
We continue our story of rebuilding Detroit. Oh my word. Shining a light on a civic corporate partnership, ridding the neighborhoods of blight, house by house.
That's next time on This Old House.